There is no going back. These are the words that hit me like a ton of bricks when I returned to my hometown after being away for several years. There was a strange feeling in the streets that were familiar, and old friends seemed like strangers. Then I realized that I had evolved beyond my past. At this point, I will talk about my personal experience of letting go and moving on with my life. Imagine that you find yourself at a crossroads in your comfort zone. When you look behind you, you see familiar paths that are well-worn and comfortable. Ahead of you are unknown paths shrouded in mystery. Which direction will you turn? Certainty and routine are what our brains need. It's a survival instinct deeply rooted in our genetics. The ancient region of our brain responsible for processing fear encourages us to return to the things that are familiar to us. It warns us, don't leave this place, stay safe. Furthermore, when we pay attention, our brain responds by releasing a surge of dopamine, which serves to reinforce the activity. But the question is, what if this comfort prevents you from reaching your full potential? Is it possible that the only thing that makes you feel safe also prevents you from growing? It's interesting to learn about the psychology behind comfort zones. They are like invisible cages that protect us from what we perceive as a threat, but at the same time, they limit the experiences we have. Our patterns become ingrained, and we continue to do the same activities day after day. We feel safe, but this repetitive pattern can lead to stagnation. Numerous studies have shown that those who shy away from new encounters tend to have lower levels of satisfaction and fulfillment in their lives. Consider Sarah, a talented artist who always imagined herself as the owner of her own art gallery. For several years, she kept a stable office job, convincing herself that it was the right thing to do. Although she painted in her spare time, she was unable to pursue her love full-time because of fear. After 10 years, Sarah realized that she hadn't even picked up a paintbrush in the last few months. She had allowed her comfort zone to gradually destroy her dreams. Or take Mark, who, after graduating, chose to stay in his hometown. He followed in his father's footsteps and found work in the local factory. As the years went by, Mark felt increasingly restless, even though his situation was quite familiar and comfortable. He was curious to find out what opportunities he might have missed, because he had never ventured outside the city limits. All these things happen too often. However, what consequences do we face when we finally find the courage to venture out of our comfort zone? The results can have a transformative effect. If we are willing to accept discomfort and change, we can experience enormous personal growth. The formation of new neural pathways in our brain helps increase our adaptability and resilience. We are able to overcome obstacles that we previously considered insurmountable and discover strengths that we didn't know we had. Imagine that the artist has finally opened his gallery and that his work has had a direct impact on the lives of a large number of spectators. Imagine a boy from a small town who discovers he is interested in international trade and whose perspective on the world broadens with each new encounter. These types of changes don't miraculously happen overnight. They require courage, perseverance, and a willingness to face the unknown in order to succeed. The benefits, on the other hand, are incalculable. By pushing ourselves beyond our comfort zone, we are able to discover our true potential and experience a greater sense of fulfillment. Moving away from what is comfortable is not an easy task. It will be a struggle for our mind, which will push us to escape to a safe place. Now that we have a better understanding of this trap, we are able to identify it for what it really is, an obstacle to our development. For this reason, let's analyze why it's so difficult to leave our comfort zone and how we can find the strength to take the first step into the unknown, which is so important. Reminiscence is like a siren call that lures us to places we've been. It's an illusion that we can go back in time. You may believe that returning to an old job or an old relationship will help you regain that sense of well-being and belonging. However, the reality is that you can never go back in time. At that moment, you are no longer the same person you were. If you try to insert your evolved self into areas that belong to your past, what consequences can you expect? There are times when we all feel the desire to return to places, jobs, or relationships we've had in the past. The feeling is similar to that of a cozy blanket of familiarity, which promises to wrap us in the luxury of what has been in the past. However, is it possible to go back in time and return to our previous lives? The answer is a definite no, my friend. It is not possible to go back in time, no matter how much you may want to. Why is this? Simply because you have evolved. You have matured. Your life experiences have shaped you into a different version of yourself, and you are grateful for these experiences. Think about it for a moment. Every obstacle you overcame, every victory you celebrated, and every lesson you learned left an impression on you. Your values may have changed over time. Your ambitions may have changed over time. It is possible that the person you are now is hardly recognizable from the person you left behind. I have witnessed this phenomenon on several occasions. Let's call her Emily. She is a friend of mine who moved from her small hometown to live in the big city. She pursued her aspirations, built a career for herself, and developed in ways she could never have imagined. However, when she returned to her hometown several years later, she noticed that something was wrong. Although the streets were the same, they had a more intimate feel. The presence of long-lost friends was still there, but the conversation was strained. Emily realized that she had outgrown the place that had once made her who she was. Another example is David, who, after 10 years away from his college sweetheart, believed he could rekindle their mutual love. The two were eager to relive their teenage romance, so they decided to meet for coffee. However, as they continued to converse, it became apparent that they had become two very different people. The reality of their individual journeys had replaced the bond they once had, and it had completely dissolved. It is because we are not the same people who lived through the past that we cannot relive it. They bring an essential reality to our attention. It is common to feel frustrated, disappointed, and a lack of sense of belonging when we try to forcefully re-enter previous patterns. The interesting aspect, however, is that this disconnection is not necessarily negative. It is proof of your development and a demonstration of how far you have progressed. Use it as motivation to keep moving forward rather than looking back at what you've achieved. Always keep in mind that the people you choose to surround yourself with have a direct impact on your growth potential. As a result, it's extremely important to seek out people with great skills or who push you to improve. These people will push you to reach new heights and motivate you to pursue even more ambitious dreams. Therefore, rather than trying to go back, you should ask yourself, who can I connect with to reach my full potential? What new experiences could I seek out? How can I use my history as a basis for building an even more promising future? At this point, it would be foolish to turn back. Although the path ahead is uncertain, it is full of opportunities. Are you ready to accept them as they are? Accept the uncertainty. Even if the path ahead is uncertain, what if it turns out that this is where your most promising opportunities lie? Put yourself in the position of standing on the edge of a cliff, palms sweating, heart racing. Here's an idea that has the potential to completely transform your life. What if the terror you're feeling isn't a warning, but rather a sign that you're on the verge of something extraordinary? Fear and uncertainty are natural responses to significant transitions in life. Given that your brain is wired to desire safety and routine, it's a natural response. But think about this. What if the anxiety is directing you towards some kind of development? Let's say it's a sign that you're going in the right direction. There is a wide range of varieties of fear. There are two types of fear: negative fear and positive fear. A paralyzing fear can make you feel powerless, prevent you from moving forward, and convince you to believe lies about your worth and your talents. But what about healthy fear? It's not the same thing. The kind that makes your heart race with excitement and the possibility of anything. It pushes you to go beyond your comfort zone and grow as a person. Think back to the last time you felt truly alive. Chances are, you had to take a step into the unknown. Because that's where the magic happens. You will discover strengths you didn't know you had. Consider Sarah as an example. Her real interest was in sustainable agriculture, despite having a secure position in finance. She was scared by the prospect of leaving her job, but at the same time excited by the prospect. She seized the opportunity, founded a small urban farm, and is now the proud owner of a thriving business that is bringing positive change to her community. Or consider Mark. The fear of leaving his birthplace prevented him from pursuing his desire to explore the world. At a certain point, he realized that the fear of regret was greater than the fear of the unknown. Thanks to selling everything, buying a one-way ticket and working remotely while traveling to different places, he is now traveling. He never imagined that his life would be so full of riches. These stories are not original at all. People who have overcome their anxieties and made a difference in the world are scattered throughout history. Think of all the most important leaders, artists, and inventors who have ever lived. They were all in the same place as you are right now, precariously suspended on the edge of the familiar and looking towards the unknown. In light of this, what unrealized potential do you possess? Are there dreams you have ignored because they seem too terrifying? Keep in mind that the extent of your apprehension is often comparable to the extent of the possibilities that lie on the other side. You need to let go of the past in order to climb the highest mountain of fulfillment. It's like trying to climb a steep cliff while carrying a heavy backpack. If you want to reach new heights, you need to have both hands free. The things that have happened to you in the past have shaped you, but they don't determine your destiny. Each new step forward is an opportunity to reimagine who you are and to transform yourself into the person you were always meant to be. However, how can you choose which risks are worth taking? In the quest for advancement, how do you distinguish between taking risky leaps and deliberate steps? We'll explore this further later because there are no blind leaps when it comes to facing the unknown. It's more about learning to spread your wings and soar. You've probably heard of heroes in myths and stories, but have you ever considered the possibility of living your own epic story right now? Your hero's journey is something you should contemplate. It is possible to explain why some people are able to overcome adversity while others cannot, by using a powerful frame of reference. It's called the hero's journey, and knowing it well can enable you to realize your full potential. Consider that your life is a story of epic proportions and that you are the protagonist. Every difficulty you encounter and every obstacle you face is part of a bigger story that is unfolding in front of you. At the beginning of the hero's journey, there is a call to adventure. It is the moment when you realize that your current circumstances are no longer enough. Maybe it's a relationship that's holding you back, or maybe it's a career that no longer makes you happy. Despite the fear, you feel drawn to something deeper. In this situation, many people find themselves in difficulty. They choose to ignore the call and remain in their comfort zone. However, what happens if you decide to answer this call? As you venture into the unknown, you will encounter challenges and difficulties. It is never simple. You will experience moments of uncertainty and moments when you will be tempted to go back on your decision. Every hero must overcome these obstacles. It is a natural occurrence. Look at your history. The most difficult situations you have experienced have probably been the source of your most significant growth. During your adventure, you will meet guides and traveling companions. Some examples are friends who trust you, reading books that motivate you, or situations that teach you instructive lessons. You will also encounter enemies and challenges. These may be external problems or inner anxieties and doubts. Moreover, this trend is followed by real-life heroes. Take author J.K. Rowling, for example. Before the release of Harry Potter, she was a single mother without a fixed abode who relied on social assistance. She was rejected over and over again by publishers, but she persevered, and as a result, managed to turn her difficulties into one of the most beloved book series in the history of the world. Or, let's take Oprah Winfrey as an example. To become one of the most important media figures in the world, she resolutely overcame a difficult childhood and a series of other obstacles. It is a monument to the power of perseverance that she went from living in poverty to having a worldwide impact. The stories presented here are not exceptions, but rather illustrations of what is possible when you embrace your own personal hero's journey. The difficulties you face are not punishments, but rather opportunities for personal growth. With each challenge you overcome, you become more resilient, more prepared, and more capable of achieving your goals. So, what incredible possibilities await you if you can overcome the difficulties you are facing? The answer is limitless. When you look at your life through the lens of the hero's journey, you give yourself the opportunity to experience truly remarkable possibilities. As time goes by, you begin to see obstacles as twists rather than dead ends. The risks worth taking are those that are in line with your core beliefs and that encourage personal development. Making the decision to leave a secure job to pursue your passion, breaking up a comfortable but unchanging relationship, or moving to a new place where prospects are abundant are all examples of what this can involve. Although these choices are not simple, They are the ones that will determine the course of your story or your tale. Keep in mind that you are the protagonist of your story. Every difficulty you encounter is an opportunity to become stronger and to develop into a more complete version of what you should be. Even if your experience is unique, the courage to move forward is something that everyone has in common. So, what will be the next step in your hero's journey in the future? Continue on your journey. I want you to take a moment to think about the adventure we've been on together. Compare the person you were when you started this video to the person you are now. Focus on the difference. Does the change, the spark of possibility that is igniting inside you, feel like it's happening? The process of change is never simple. As well as being messy and uncomfortable, it can sometimes be downright terrifying. But real progress happens when you're forced to endure the discomfort. Remember that you are not alone on this journey. Every great achiever has been in your position at some point in their life, balancing between the familiar and the unknown. So what is your next step? Whatever it is, you must make the first move. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be effective. When it comes to traveling, why would we want to end here? If you've watched this video, it means you're traveling in the wrong direction towards growth. Continue your journey. We strongly recommend you watch our next movie, which will be of great help in your quest to become the best possible version of yourself.